In February 2020, Kagetsu wrestled her last match as an active competitor, thus marking the end of her professional career, not without leaving her Oedo Tai leadership position to her partner Natsuko Tora beforehand. Those were big shoes to fill, and Stardom fans knew it. They despised Natsuko Tora's mandate and the new coat of paint she gave to the faction. Disqualifications, reckless attacks, and a notorious lack of direction left a once dominant stable in decadence. However, towards the end of 2020, I personally noticed signs of better days ahead. Oedo Tai grew in numbers, absorbing most of what was left of Tokyo Cyber Squad, and the group became a headache for the icon Mayu Iwatani and her own unit, Stars. For some reason, Tora's leadership was appealing to a considerable number of wrestlers. Even then, no one would have expected that the future star of the promotion would descend into the dark side. Dear sub-viewers, my name is Subsir, and if you don't know me, I usually take you on a journey through the magical world of professional wrestling and its wonderful characters. My most important videos have English subtitles, and I encourage you to check them out if you like this one. This is the story of how Starlight Kid found herself thriving through evil, and we'll take a look at it in detail. To talk about Starlight Kid's change is to talk about the full-scale war between Oedo Tai and Stars, and it all begins on February 20th, 2021. 1 year and 5 days after Natsuko Tora was named the new leader of the unit, she and her partners Konami, Bea Priestley, and Saki Kashima were scheduled to face Mayu Iwatani, Starlight Kid, Gokigen Des, and Ruaka. Stars isn't really the most organized, efficient, or prolific unit in Stardom, and Mayu has made an impressive career out of two things: being the icon of Stardom, and also being betrayed by others, causing many people to call her a bad leader. Coincidentally, at this point it's no secret that Oedo Tai is a group of traitors. Everyone there made their way into the unit by betraying, or at least abandoning, someone else. In fact, the previous year, Konami decided to destroy TCS and join OT for that sole purpose, knowing she won't get too attached to the other members and could focus on competing in the ring and being the best. As she says, strength doesn't come from friendship holds you back. On that fateful day of February, on that seemingly random 4 vs 4 match, someone realized that what Konami said was true. After what was being a hard-fought battle, Mayu Iwatani asks Ruaka for the tag, and she concedes, only to throw Mayu to the floor, turning on her and aligning with the opponents. Saki mocks Mayu for being betrayed once again, something that Mayu is already indifferent to. She doesn't seem to care much about Ruaka, but she surely won't run away from this fight. Iwatani calls for a full-scale war between Stars and Oedo Tai, and interestingly enough, Starlight Kid vows to fight for Stars in the name of justice. Natsuko responds by cleverly planting a seed into everyone's minds. Why does everyone keep turning on Mayu? Why does everyone keep joining Oedo Tai? Maybe, just maybe, Tora is a better leader than Mayu. The full-scale war begins at a disadvantage for Stars, as they just lost one member and they don't even know if they'll keep losing more. Over the next couple of months, both teams would develop their rivalry on Twitter, but as Natsuko said, that isn't enough. Oedo Tai faced Stars in multiple kind of matches, with the villainous unit winning 5 out of 6 encounters. Already bored with Mayu's team, Natsuko Tora demands something different. Mayu proposes some silly ideas like a sumo match or a tag of war game, but Tora rejects them and proceeds to challenge Stars to a 5 vs 5 elimination match, with the last person to be eliminated having to join the rival unit. Mayu is a bit doubtful, so once again Starlight Kid steps up to Oedo Tai, saying that they don't need anyone from the group and that they'll just be happy with humiliating them. Mayu ends up accepting Tora's challenge, and the match is set for April 4th, 2021. Yokohama Dream Cinderella in spring. Mayu Iwatani, Starlight Kid, Saya Ida, Hanan, and Goki and Death versus Natsuko Tora, Saki Kashima, Konami, Rina, and Ruaka. During 25 minutes, members of both units are eliminated one by one, including Starlight Kid and Natsuko Tora eliminating each other after a strenuous brawl. But at the end of the day, Oedo Tai wins once again, when Saki beats Gokigen to win the match. The shock of Stars is the joy of Oedo Tai, as Natsuko plays with Mayu's emotions, challenging her to a rematch with the same stipulation. Tora knows that Gokigen, now named Fukigen, is merely a mascot for any team she's in, so she wants more. She wants either Mayu Iwatani or Starlight Kid. She also knows that Mayu is a bit too proud to back down from this challenge, and indeed, Mayu accepts. Originally scheduled for May 28, Tokyo Dream Cinderella was eventually moved to June 12. It was a clear mission now. Stars had 2 months to prepare and figure out how to recover Fukigen, because Oedo Tai was coming for their top 2 members. After all, they just lost Bea Priestley, who decided to leave Stardom, so they need the extra help. And so, Stars and Oedo Tai went back and forth for the rest of April and May, with the advantage leaning towards Stars this time. Despite Fukigen Death accepting her fate as a member of Oedo Tai, the Heroes of Stardom managed to get 5 straight wins over their rivals. Tired of the losses, Oedo Tai decided to ruin Mayu's Cinderella tournament by costing her the quarterfinals. Before Oedo Tai can injure Mayu, Koguma makes her return to Stardom after 6 years, joining Stars. On top of that, Mayu had another surprise. From Marvelous, Rin Kadokura would join the group as a special guest on June 12th's All Out War. But it didn't matter who else was brought to the table, Natsuko was gunning for either Iwatani or Kid. She knew the strongest bond in Stars was in between them. Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani go a few years back, when Mayu drafted the Masked Wrestler to Stars in 2018 to protect the future of the company from being taken under the wrong wings. Mayu would go on to make sure Starlight Kid stayed in Stars at the following draft and never left since. They formed a tag team called MK Sisters and pretty much became the poster girls for heroism in Stardom. In the past few months though, we've seen shades of a different Starlight Kid, a grown, mature Starlight Kid. She proudly stood against Tam Nakano and the Cosmic Angels after they decided to abandon Stars. She had a competitive, even aggressive match against Julia for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and of course, she has shown more attitude when opposing Oedo Tai. In certain ways, Kid became similar to Mayu in the sense that even when they're the good guys, they still have a mean streak and they won't allow anyone to look down on them. It may be that Natsuko Tora seeks to exploit that killer instinct both wrestlers have deep inside them. It may be that Natsuko Tora wants to pit them against each other. It may be that Natsuko Tora wants to show what her vision of leadership is like to either of them. At this point, we don't know yet, but the time of war has come once again. June 12, Tokyo Dream Cinderella, Mayu Iwatani, Starlight Kid, Koguma, Hanan, Rin Kadokura versus Natsuko Tora, Saki Kashima, Konami, Fukigen Death, and Ruaka. Both teams waste no time in getting it on, but as Stars tend to play by the rules, Oedo Tai sees the opportunity to gang up on Mayu. Pretty much all of the members of Oedo Tai take turns attacking Iwatani ruthlessly until Stars make the save. However, after a few tags, Mayu is back in the ring and Tora's group target her immediately. In the midst of all the chaos, Rin Kadokura manages to assist Mayu in eliminating Ruaka, the traitor, first. Stars use the momentum to team up and eliminate Konami as well. With Stars having the advantage now, it was time to act fast. High-speed veteran Fukigen Death manages to survive Hanan's judo moves to eliminate her. Kadokura tries to get rid of Fukigen, but thanks to Konami's illegal interference, she's put at risk. With both Fukigen and Kadokura on the edge of the ring, the latter asks for Mayu to hit the finishing strike. Iwatani comes in and dropkicks Fukigen, sacrificing Rin Kadokura in the process. Stars still have the advantage though, and Koguma does her best to get rid of Kashima, but Saki tricks her opponent with a pinfall that leaves her out of the match. It's Saki and Tora versus Kid and Mayu, the perfect scenario for Oedo Tai. Iwatani tries to knock Saki with a painful headbutt, but once again Saki pulls out a pin from out of nowhere and quickly eliminates Mayu. It's only Starlight Kid at basically a handicap match now. Kid tricks Tora and Saki into attacking each other, then confuses Saki once again to pin her and take her out of the match. Natsuko tries to take down Kid with power moves, but it's useless as SLK's fighting spirit is at full swing, and she almost gets the win over Tora until Oedo Tai drag the referee out of the ring and start brawling with Starlight Kid. Mayu tries to save her, but Rina and Ruaka tie her to the ring post. Mayu helplessly watches as Natsuko tortures Starlight Kid until her very end in this match. 1, 2, 3. As Sunny pointed out, the kindest, sweetest, and purest person in the locker room is officially in Oedo Tai. Tora mocks Mayu for failing her promise. She then tells Starlight Kid that she's now at the bottom of the Oedo Tai hierarchy below Ruaka and that she has to survive being in the group. Mayu, with tears in her eyes, begs for forgiveness and promises Kid that she will get her back. But until that day, Oedo Tai can claim victory. Natsuko picks up Starlight Kid, carrying her like a giant doll, and a new chapter in the masked wrestler's career begins by force. Oedo Tai got their wish. More specifically, Natsuko got what she wanted. She took what was most precious to Mayu, and Lord knows what were they going to do to her. Later that evening, Tora came out to challenge Utami Hayashishita for the World of Stardom Championship, carrying Starlight Kid's mask in her hand. It was implied that Kid would debut a new look the next time she wrestled. And so, June 16 came around and Starlight Kid was scheduled to join Oedo Tai and fight stars, including Mayu Iwatani. Kid came out wearing a colorful mask as per usual, but with a black piece of fur on its right side, symbolizing the beginning of her corruption. She was reluctant to fight Mayu and was clearly out of her element, but she still managed to get the win for Oedo Tai. As the weeks went by, Kid's iconic mask would turn darker and darker, the pitch black consuming every thread of it. Tora would also pressurize Kid into becoming more vicious and independent, and gives her a new mask specifically designed to fit Oedo Tai. Natsuko tells her new partner that Stars went on without her and Kid is the only one stuck in the past, so it's up to her to move forward. This could or could not be a lie, but I believe Tora genuinely wants what's best for Kid, or her idea of what's best for Kid. SLK picks up the mask and vows to create her own destiny. On July 4th, at Yokohama Dream Cinderella in summer, a new Starlight Kid emerged from the darkness. New mask, new attire, new entrance theme, new mannerisms, she seemed completely reborn in the image of Oedo Tai. Despite a losing effort to Momo Watanabe and longtime rival Asumi, this was only the beginning for the Sky Tiger. On that same night, Natsuko Tora would suffer an unfortunate injury during her match against Utami, so Oedo Tai would have to adapt without their leader for the time being. Mayu Iwatani, seeing how Kid was starting to like the dark path, challenged the group to a match for SLK's position. Konami had the brilliant idea of doing a 5 vs 1 handicap match, Mayu versus all of Oedo Tai in over-the-top rules. Just tossing your opponent over the top rope was enough. If Mayu wins, Starlight Kid would actually have a choice regarding where she wanted to be. Mayu says that Kid belongs to Stars and she promises to win. And surely enough, Mayu wins. Not because she's the icon, not because she Super Cena'd her way into victory, but because Oedo Tai disqualified themselves to let Mayu win, and Kid choose. Konami, smiling, taps Kid's shoulder, and allows her to decide her own fate. Starlight Kid contemplates her future and gets to the ring to tell Mayu straight to her face. As she looks at her in the eyes, Starlight Kid declares that she will stay in Oedo Tai and build up her own name. She explains that she doesn't want to be a sidekick anymore, so she will oppose Mayu from now on. Mayu, surprisingly, still has compassion for her former protege. She claims that no matter what happens, Kid can always come back to Stars and be Mayu's friend once again. But she doesn't seem to care at all. This was Kid's opportunity to make a name for herself, to be equal to Mayu Iwatani, to be her greatest rival. Because as Konami said, strength doesn't come from friendship. Mayu confesses to being heartbroken, but reassures everyone that as long as we support her, Stars will always prevail. As for Starlight Kid, a vicious competitor, a rule breaker, a deceivingly small but relentless force was born. Starlight Kid would get a big opportunity right out of the gate, as she challenged Tam Nakano for the white belt and pushed her to her limits. She also made sure to remind Mayu Iwatani that they were no longer friends in many tag team bouts. On July 31st, Stardom's most important tournament began once again, the 5-Star Grand Prix, and it was the perfect opportunity to rise up and break out. Kid had no trouble in facing her own stablemates and even humiliating them, as she did with Saki Kashima. She debuted a new finisher, called the Divine Punishment. The design in her masks would reference the story of the match or her opponents themselves. She also started carrying a secondary mask, which she puts on her opponents' heads after defeating them, just to add insult to injury. With every day that passed, Starlight Kid evolved more and more as an individual to not only be respected, but also feared. Perhaps Starlight Kid's biggest win during the tournament was not a tournament match, but the high-speed championship bout between her and the champion, Natsupoi. It's been almost 3 years since Kid was a champion, and she attempted to win the high-speed belt for 7 times, but could never get the job done. Now, under her new persona, Starlight Kid destroyed Natsupoi and cast the Divine Punishment upon her. Kid rises to the top as the high-speed champion, and she immediately disregards the belt, saying that she actually hates it and will exude that hatred towards all of the high-speed division. With winning a championship not being enough, Kid would go on to get upset victories in the remainder of the tournament, such as Himeka and Momo Watanabe. This allowed her to score up to 11 points, with her final opponent being, you guessed it, Mayu Iwatani. On the final day of the tournament, September 25th, all Starlight Kid has to do is not lose to Mayu, to win her block of the tourney and get to the finals. Kid enters, sporting a secondary mask matching the style of Mayu's own mask. As the clips of Kid rejecting her former leader play in the big screen, the Black Tiger walks down the aisle with all the focus in the world and plants herself in the middle of the ring, standing still like a statue until Mayu pushes her aside. The bell rings. Mayu and Kid walk towards each other. Iwatani pushes her rival once again with a playful smile, causing Kid to throw the first forearm. Both wrestlers get into a war of forearms that transforms into a myriad of quick moves, which ends with Starlight Kid dominating the sequence, proceeding with a submission hold near the ropes. Mayu touches the bottom rope with her feet, and Kid nearly disqualifies herself while locking the hold. SLK uses the ropes in her favor by trapping Mayu between them and drop kicking her in the back. Kid continues her punishment with a few kicks and slaps, taunting Iwatani until she finally snaps out of it and reacts with a sling blade and a penalty kick to the back. However, her momentum doesn't last, as Starlight Kid dodges a dive and takes advantage with a moonsault. Kid keeps going with a picture-perfect splash that gives her a 2 count. Mayu and Kid engulf themselves in a battle of chops, which sound pretty devastating. Starlight Kid, once again, dominates as she leaves Iwatani lying on the floor and proceeds to scream her name without any honorific. SLK doesn't want to show a single bit of respect to the woman who once was her best friend. Mayu gets up and replies with chops of her own and a double foot stomp from the top rope. 2 count. Mayu attempts a moonsault, but Kid dodges it. The high-speed champion attempts a moonsault of her own and fails too. It seemed that every time Starlight Kid could get an advantage, Mayu finds a way to return to life. Both women use each other to get up, and Mayu gets the upper hand, but Kid saves herself from a big power move and counters with her divine punishment, 2 count. Mayu attempts several high-impact moves, but Starlight Kid manages to survive them all. Impressed with Starlight Kid's determination to win, Mayu Iwatani yells a loud battle cry and locks a dragon suplex hold to hit the finishing strike on her enemy. 1, 2, 3. Bruises all over her body, Starlight Kid struggles to move. Mayu offers her hand, but Kid uses the ropes to lift herself up. Iwatani still reaches out to Kid, who proceeds to slap her. But then, Mayu grabs Kid by her head and hugs her. Even after all of this, even after months of separation, even after everything Natsuko Tora has done to burn the bridge between them, Mayu can't bring herself to hate Starlight Kid. Mayu can't bring herself to give up on her. And neither does Starlight Kid. It's pretty obvious that deep down, neither Starlight Kid nor Mayu Iwatani actually hate each other. And this is a brilliant way of doing a heel turn that actually looks natural. In wrestling, we're used to see someone turn heel and radically change their presence from one week to another, claiming they hate the fans and the de facto babyface, or that these have been their true colors all along. But in this case, things have been a bit more subtle. Of course, all of pro wrestling is a caricaturization of real life, so this isn't the most realistic rupture of a friendship, but it's still pretty freaking good. Kid goes on to say on Twitter that even if she still loves Mayu, this is no time to go back to stars. The lines have been drawn, and the Sky Tiger will keep trying to prove that she can surpass the icon of stardom. Starlight Kid would win the Technical Skill Award for her participation in the tournament, something she didn't seem too pleased with. She always wants more, and her ambitions are just as big as her potential. This tournament was not for her to win, but to prove a statement. She can be equal to Mayu Iwatani, but she isn't yet. Mayu preventing Kid from winning the block is the perfect symbolism for Mayu being the one that Starlight Kid needs to overcome first. I have no doubts that Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani will face each other once again, maybe twice again, maybe even thrice again because Stardom loves to do that. But my point is that the result may be different one day. For now, we have to admire Starlight Kid's commitment to reinvent herself. The little details that she keeps adding to her persona make a great sum of awesomeness. From a new repertoire of wrestling moves, to the way she carries herself, to the Easter eggs in her costumes. Starlight Kid is no longer a promise, but the present. However, the goal that Starlight Kid pursues is still far away from her. She has to keep learning all that she can so that she can be ready for when that day comes. The road will be full of obstacles, but with Oedo Tai by her side, Starlight Kid will crush them all. My name is Subster. See you next time.